KBLA Talk 1580. We fight the power every day.
Yeah, gotta give us what we want. Gotta give us what we need. Hey!
I listen to KBLA and I love the commercials. I know what the commercials mean. I also, if I'm looking and trying to figure something out, I need something to talk to me that might hit me. And it happens on TV because, you know, every time they show a sporting event, they got the pharmaceutical companies back to back telling people how to fix the sickness on the same stuff that they sell them. So we get it.
Yep, we get it too, Chuck D. And that's why at KBLA Talk 1580, we don't black down.
Drop it! Our freedom of speech is freedom of death. We got to fight the powers that be. Fight the power! Fight the power! Fight the power!
Anthems, yes, we chanting a movement of people. It's like we dancing to the ministry of. It's the energy of, in memory of them that we love. The trinity of the people, the peace, the power, the truth. We speak the powers even louder. We can say it blacker, we can say it prouder. A woman vice president that went to Howard. Now we talk helping black businesses, and our differences is magnificent. Bringing light to the point where the prisons is. I was told good life is where forgiveness lives. The ascension is to leave what's left behind and feed the seeds with deeds that bless the mind. Caress the mind and question justify when you and God in time are best aligned. Son, a better grandson, honoring Fannie Lou's and the Fred Hamptons, the Harriets, the chariots that carry us to various areas that marry us to progress. Yeah, we the harvest, the lovely days and midnight marauders, even through charges and days of darkness. No, we in the hands.
You are listening to and streaming A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. I'm Dr. Nii-Quartelai Quartey, your host and White House correspondent, joining you live here in Afternoon Drive Time. I'm in touch, and so you be in touch. Follow me on all the social media platforms at Dr. Nii-Quartelai. All you got to do is type in Dr. Nii-Q, DRNIIQ. And there I am, fresh for you to follow. Also, be sure to download the KBLA app to listen to us live or on demand, or just tell Alexa to play KBLA Talk 1580, and there we are for your listening pleasure. Last but not least, subscribe to A More Perfect Union podcast. That way you will never miss an episode. Listen, KBLA is on the move. If you haven't heard already, let me tell you, KBLA 1580's Health and Wellness Hub is here. We know that your health is a priority. And that's why we're here to make sure that you have all the knowledge, all the resources, all the tools that you need to live your best life. That's why we created the KBLA 1580 Health and Wellness Hub, a trusted digital space designed for you. Lots of goodies there. I'm really excited about the mental and physical wellness resources for real life balance. Hello. Also, culturally relevant care and education that puts you first. So go on to the website, KBLA1580.com, and check out the Health and Wellness Hub. Health is wealth. We know it. And now we're offering you some more tools to achieve it. All right. With that, it's time for your national news roundup. It's time for you to decide the good, bad, and ugly headlines of the day. And kicking us off, Senate Republicans are eyeing the nuclear option to speed up Trump's nominees. Now, you might remember that just yesterday we were talking about whether or not Democrats will lead an effort to shut down the government at the end of this month. The continuing resolution, it runs out at the end of the month. Question is, what are Democrats going to do? Well, I'll tell you right now what Senate Republicans are doing. According to NBC News, Republican leaders are moving closer closer to implementing a major change to Senate rules that would allow them to confirm scores of President Trump's nominees in batches rather than vote on each one individually. Republicans are making the change to speed up votes on Trump's nominees after having complained that Democrats are slow walking them en masse. Meanwhile, the Senate's top Democrat warned them not to go nuclear in service of advancing Trump's loyalists. So to me, the question is, okay, so what? If they go nuclear, what you gonna do about it? That's what's not clear. That's what's not clear. Democrats have not said whether or not they will shut down the government and the conditions by which they would shut down the government at the end of this month. A government that is funding mass deportations at levels we've never seen. A federal government that is disappearing people. Federal government's doing a lot of things that the people are protesting about. The question is, what will Democrats do with the little bit of power, a little bit of leverage that they have on Capitol Hill when the government runs out of money? That's the question. In other news today, we know that back home here in Santa Monica, the city of Santa Monica is poised to declare a fiscal emergency due to payouts to sex abuse victims. That's right. The LA Times is reporting that Santa Monica city leaders are being asked to declare a fiscal emergency due to the city's ongoing budget crisis. The staff report for Tuesday's city council agenda cites several challenges, including legal payouts related to a notorious alleged sexual abuser who worked for the city. Get this, the city paid out more than $229 million. $229 million in settlements relating to sexual abuse by Eric Euler, a former Santa Monica police dispatcher. City faces additional abuse claims from over 180 claimants. Euler worked with boys and girls at a police nonprofit after-school program, and according to a 2018 report by the LA County Sheriff's Department, several former Santa Monica City employees told detectives that they reported Euler's misconduct. The LA Times reported this back in 2023. And so it's worth Monica's recently approved budget for the 2025-2026 fiscal year expects expenditures of $484.3 million, but $473.5 million in revenue. And so as if the morality of it all wasn't a reason to act, approaching a fiscal cliff, apparently in the city of Santa Monica, may be a reason to act. We'll keep our eye on that. But when we come forward, I'm really looking forward to being in conversation with a historical researcher, a historian that has uncovered a really incredible story connected to a project that's near and dear to my heart. You've been hearing on KBLA editorial about the work that I'm doing as journalist in residence with the Black Land Loss Narrative Archive Project. Well, when we come forward, Mara Cherkasky, historian and writer, she is going to talk about some of her scholarship related to the Scott family of Washington, D.C. It's a story that you're never going to forget. More with Mara when we come forward. You're listening to and streaming A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580.
You're listening to A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
If you love to travel, Capital One has a rewards credit card that's perfect for you. With the Capital One Venture X card, you earn unlimited double miles on everything you buy. Plus, you get premium benefits at a collection of luxury hotels when you book on Capital One Travel. And with Venture X, you get access to over 1,000 airport lounges worldwide. Open up a world of travel possibilities with a Capital One Venture X card. What's in your wallet?
Terms apply. Lounge access is subject to change. See CapitalOne.com for details.
Small businesses are the heart of America. But you don't have to go it alone. As the nation's largest nonprofit resource of expert business mentoring, SCORE has helped millions of entrepreneurs build their businesses for free. Get the connections, education, and guidance you need with SCORE. We're ready to help. Find a mentor today at score.org.
With a KBLA Talk 1580 editorial, I'm Dr. Nii-Quartelai Quartey. Let's preserve Black land stories before they're lost forever. I want to personally invite you to be a part of something historic. As journalist in residence for the Black Land Lost Narrative Archive Project, I've joined forces with powerhouse attorney and social justice champion George Fothery, the man who helped make history by delivering justice to the Bruce family in Manhattan Beach, securing the first known return of land unjustly taken from Black owners by a local government. That victory was monumental, but it was just the beginning. For generations, Black families have acquired land through grit, faith, and determination, only to lose it through violence, legal loopholes, forced sales, and systematic racism. What's been taken goes far beyond dirt and deeds. It's the erasure of wealth, identity, and legacy. That's why we've launched the Black Land Lost Narrative Archive Project, a national effort to collect, protect, and preserve the stories of Black land lost before they're buried, forgotten, or erased altogether. Because there's power in telling Black stories, there is resistance in remembering, and there's justice in being seen and heard. This is where you come in. We're inviting you to be a part of this historic Black narrative archive. If you or someone you know has experienced land loss, displacement, or forced property sales, your story deserves to be heard and remembered. Your story belongs in this archive. Your truth matters not just to your family, but to our collective future. Visit blacklandlost.org today. Fill out our simple intake form and add your voice to the National Archive of Remembrance, Resilience, and Reckoning. Let's make these stories live on, not in whispers, but on the record. With a KBLA Talk 1580 editorial, I'm Dr. Nii-Quartelai Quartey, and as always, we welcome your feedback.
National News The Consequence. Informed opinion.
And analysis beyond the headlines.
You're listening to A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580.
You are listening to and streaming A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. I'm Dr. Nii-Quartelai Quartey, and really delighted to welcome historian and writer Mara Cherkasky. She is co-founder of both the historical research firm Hyperlink, Prologue DC, and the Digital Public History Project, which maps segregation in Washington, D.C. They document the use of racially restrictive housing covenants during the segregation era. Mara, welcome to the show.
Thanks so much for having me.
Well, thanks so much for being here. Thanks so much for your body of work. I know there are a number of stories that you have uncovered over the years, but your scholarship related to the Scott family really caught my attention, really caught the attention of my team over at the Black Land Lost Narrative Archive Project. For our leaders, learners, and listeners who are not familiar, very high level, tell us what you discovered in your research on the Scott family.
Well, I originally interviewed a member of the Scott family back in 1984 it was for my master's thesis, which was an oral history project in the neighborhood that I lived in, and she did too. And she mentioned at the time that when she was 6 years old, so my voice is half gone, but anyway, when she was 6 years old, her family was evicted by eminent domain from a neighborhood or a little settlement called Meridian Hill, which today is a park, a big, elaborate park. And I kind of didn't do anything. I didn't do anything with that. I finished my thesis. I moved away. I came back. And over the years, when I was back in DC, a couple of the Scott family members contacted me about, I think, turning her house into a house museum or something like that, which, so I was in touch with them. And then suddenly it occurred to me when I was doing all this covenant research that I should write this up, because the people, the descendants I was in touch with, they're not going to be around forever either. And so I started, one of the descendants is named Bunny. She's a sixth generation, something like that, in DC. And she happened to have a trunk full of photos and documents and deeds and different things. So I was between that and what she knew, and then research into the census and the city directories and anything I could come up with. I could map out how 5 members of her family, or the descendants of the members, lost houses to eminent domain in 3 different African-American neighborhoods. One in 1912, 3 in the 1940s, and then 1 in the 1950s. I mean, that is just astounding that could happen to one family. Mm-hmm. I mean, it happens occasionally, but no one knows of a family in which they've lost 5 houses.
Yeah, I mean, it is extraordinary. And for folks who are a little less familiar with Washington, D.C., if you go all the way up 14th Street, you'll run right into Meridian Hill Park, also known as Malcolm X Park.
16th Street.
Or 16th Street, rather.
Right.
Also known as Malcolm X Park. And listen, we talk about the loss of Black wealth. There are a number of folks out there whose eyes may glaze over, but it's true. I think the story of the Scott family is an extraordinary example of what Black land loss can look like, what the loss of Black wealth across generations can look like. That real estate over where Meridian Park is not cheap. And imagine if that real estate, if that land had the ability to stay in their family's hands. Mara, talk to us about how the construction of Meridian Park happened. Spoiler alert, the wife of a former senator had something to do with it.
Right. This senator was Senator John Henderson, and his wife was Mary Henderson, and they, mainly she, but bought up a lot of land along 16th Street, and she was very ambitious. They lived in a castle. It was actually had crenellated wall around it, and red Seneca sandstone castle at the foot of 16th Street, across from what is now Meridian Hill Park or Malcolm X Park. She was agitating in the 1900s, early 1900s, to make 16th Street the avenue of embassies. She even got the name of 16th Street changed along that stretch to Avenue of the Presidents. Mm. And she wanted the White House to be up there. And then when that wasn't going to happen, she wanted the Vice President's house to be up there. That didn't happen either. And I think they changed the name back when she was, I don't know, on vacation or something like that. But I've seen this. The Mount Pleasant, or one of the libraries around, branch libraries, had the street sign, Avenue of the Presidents, at one point. So she was a real estate speculator. She had a lot of buildings built that she then sold or leased as embassies. So to this day, there are embassies along there that in her buildings.
Yeah.
And then there was this little settlement along 16th Street too, or along those side streets, and a Black settlement in wood frame houses. It's not very big. It's around 40, 50 families. She agitated for years, and she obviously had some, power to have that settlement removed and make that whole place where the settlement was and below into a park, with a cascading fountain and formal park. And she succeeded. And this was all going on unbeknownst to the people in the settlement, in that black settlement. Also, the Macmillan Commission of 1902 was charged with locating places that would be parks outside the old city. The L'Enfant Plan had parks, inside the old city, but then in 1902 they wanted to, as the city was developing outside the old city, and so that Meridian Hill got on that list. So I mean, the wheels were turning, and there was, they weren't going to be stopped. So then they had a whole commission to set up to appraise the land, each property, and offer a sum of money. And a number of the people sold. I mean, some of the people were white owners, landlords, and they sold. And a couple of the black owners sold too. But then a number of people refused and sued or filed complaints, whatever, and including Edmund Scott, who's the man who bought the house in the first place for his mother and his siblings and himself and when he was 19 years old, in fact. Mm-hmm. And so they bought that house in 1885. So this is now years later. He's got children, a wife and children, and his siblings have bought their own houses in another location where they're going to be their houses. So so much money got spent on these lawsuits that they couldn't even start working on they could start working on the park, but it took years. It was finally finished in the 30s, and they had evicted everyone by 1912, and then it was finally finished in 1937. So it was a long process, and everybody, dispersed. I've actually created a map that shows where everybody went, and it was. There weren't a lot of places they could go. I mean,
there weren't a lot of places that they could go, and I think it's important that our listeners and those who are streaming understand that there were people that fought back. There were people that fought back against this attempt to push them out of their homes. And to your point, there weren't a lot of places in DC where Black people could call home. Right. And so I think it's also worth noting, and correct me if I'm wrong, Mara, but didn't Mrs. Henderson, didn't she approach the Interior Department and basically say, hey, if you all build this park, I'll put down, a substantial amount of money if you all put down a substantial amount of money?
I think that may be true. I don't know for sure.
Yeah.
But I think she may have offered money. I'm not sure. The Interior Department, but she definitely wanted. I mean, it was very important to her to have that settlement gone, because it was what she would have called blight or slum or whatever. In the as neighbors to these fancy embassies.
Mara, talk to us about, sort of from your research, how pervasive is Black land loss, the forced sales of homes and land and businesses? I don't think anybody has put a global number to it, but how pervasive, particularly in our nation's capital, was Black land loss?
Well, the biggest one was the Southwest Quadrant, which was urban renewed in the 1950s and 60s. And that was 23,500 people who were evicted. I mean, it was white and Black, working class, but majority Black. And it was an experiment. It was the idea of urban renewal was new. Congress, they love to try things in the District of Columbia because their constituents aren't here. We can't vote. Well, it wouldn't matter anyway because we'd be outnumbered. So they would try experiments, like social experiments here in the district, that they couldn't get away with at home. So they, there were several plans, but one was to raise the whole southwest quadrant to the ground and start over. Another was to, keep part of it or whatever, but they ended up raising the entire thing. And then building what they built was mostly high rises and townhomes for middle class people. They didn't have to be white, but and they had promised low income housing. And then of course, as often happens, there wasn't enough funding, when it got to that point, and so they never built that. So that was the biggest example of, and of course, I mean, people didn't necessarily own their homes, but some did, or businesses, all removed, and a lot of them went over to across the Anacostia River to southeast and northeast. Which some activists referred to it as Negro removal, and I think of it as out of sight, out of mind, across the river. Not Southwest is near the capital, U.S. Capitol. So that was one, and then Reno City in Tenleytown in upper northwest D.C., where 3 of the Scott family members had bought homes, and their descendants still lived in the 40s. That was that was made into a park, and then some schools were built there for whites. And again, it was because at the time that community started, Reno City, on an old Fort Reno Civil War fort, it wasn't developed yet. And then, so nobody cared. White people didn't care. So then late 19th century, then it starts being developed for white people, housing for white people. They don't want, again, blight, and they use the word blight.
Yeah.
And so, of course, and then they also wanted to retain or restore the forts as a series of parks. So they, had that as an excuse, but they removed that whole community.
Mara, when we come forward, I want to talk to you about eminent domain. I know this has come up again and again and again, and a lot of the interviews that I've conducted with the descendants of folks who've experienced land loss. I want to ask you if you think eminent domain should be reformed or outright abolished. You are listening to and streaming A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. More with historian Mara Cherkasky when we come forward.
The audience is listening. Thought-provoking, eye-opening, heart-rendering. This is where authentic voices meet powerful discussions on culture, community, and change. This is where Black voices matter. He's breaking boundaries, amplifying diverse perspectives, and tackling the issues that matter most to you. You're inside A More Perfect Union with Dr. Nii-Quartelai Quartey on KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Amber Payton with BIN News Now. Black Maryland Governor Wes Moore is condemning the Wednesday shooting death of conservative activist Charlie Kirk at Utah Valley University, calling it heinous political violence. Moore urged peaceful resolution of political differences and offered prayers to Kirk's family, stressing the need for unity and peace. Sue Carnell will become Michigan's first Black woman interim state superintendent on October 3rd. She steps in as the state works to finalize a contract with Glenn Maleko, who was chosen to replace Dr. Michael Rice, but may remain in Dearborn through December. And rapper Kendrick Lamar is now a 2-time Emmy winner. He just earned the Creative Emmy for Outstanding Music Direction for his Apple Music Super Bowl 59 halftime show, alongside musical director Tony Russell. Lamar first won the award in 2022 for the Super Bowl 56 halftime show with Dr. Dre, Snoop Dogg, Eminem, Mary J. Blige, and 50 Cent. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
See and buy snakes, lizards, turtles, frogs, and more at the Reptile Super Show this weekend, September 13th and 14th at the Anaheim Convention Center. Experience the world's largest reptile expo and sale at this educational family fun event. Info and tickets at reptilesupershow.com.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
NBA Commissioner Adam Silver said the league will need clear evidence that Clippers owner Steve Ballmer violated salary cap rules before any decision is made on whether to punish Ballmer. The league league is investigating Ballmer for a $28 million endorsement deal Kawhi Leonard had with a company that Ballmer invested in. A law firm has been hired by the NBA to investigate the allegations. The LA Sparks wrap up their season tonight against the Las Vegas Aces at Crypto.com. The Sparks can avoid a losing record in the WNBA for the first time in 5 years with a win tonight. The NFL announced Thursday morning that Baltimore Ravens quarterback Lamar Jackson will not be fined for shoving a Buffalo Bills fan during Sunday night's game in Buffalo. Jackson pushed the fan after the fan hit Baltimore wide receiver DeAndre Hopkins in the head while Hopkins was wearing his helmet. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson. More news, opinions, and conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
We are anti-racist, and anti-stupid stuff. Unapologetically progressive, KBLA Talk 1580.
Hi, I'm LA City Councilmember Curran Price, inviting you to the 30th anniversary of the Central Avenue Jazz Festival, Saturday, September the 20th, from 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. We've got 4 pavilions, 3 stages of live music, plus food, fun, and a marketplace all along historic Central Avenue between MLK Boulevard and Vernon Ave. Our featured acts this year are Gregory Porter, Pancho Sanchez, and Jasmine Horn at the 30th anniversary of the Central Avenue Jazz Festival, Saturday, September 20th, 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. along Central Avenue between MLK Boulevard and Vernon Avenue. Come out and bring the whole family because this legendary celebration is free. For more information, go to centralavjazzfest.com. I'm LA Councilmember Curran Price, and I absolutely approve this message.
Are you ready to be a part of the conversation that will help shape our nation's future? Get ready to join us for the Left Coast Forum, Saturday, October 25th at LA Trade Tech, where progressive voices will come together to tackle the issues that matter most to working families across Los Angeles and beyond. From economic justice to climate action, from healthcare to housing, we're bringing together the brightest minds and most passionate advocates for real solutions and real change. With workshops, 2 major keynote addresses, and a closing reception with great music and good food. It's the Left Coast Forum, where your voice matters and your ideas take action. Saturday, October 25th at LA Trade Tech. Brought to you by KBLA Talk 1580 and the LA Progressive. The future won't wait, and neither should you. Mark your calendar now to be there and be heard. Stay tuned to KBLA Talk 1580 for more details.
Now back to building a more perfect union on KBLA Talk 1580.
You are listening to and streaming A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. I'm Dr. Nii-Quartelai Quartey, and really delighted to be in conversation with historian and co-founder of, is it Prologue DC LLC? Did I get that right?
Yeah, yes, Prologue DC.
Yes, Mara Cherkasky. I'm talking to the right one. I mean, Mara co-produced the DC's 20th Century African American Civil Rights Tour for the DC Historic Preservation Office. She's also collaborated on about a dozen neighborhood heritage trails. She is a recognized scholar. There's a family, the Edmund Scott family in Washington, D.C., where she has written about, and that's what caught my attention and why I thought it was really important that we bring a historian on to help offer some context when we talk about Black land loss, particularly in Washington, D.C. Mara, you're the right person to ask this question to about eminent domain. It's come up quite a bit in the interviews I've conducted with descendants and the research that I've done. How often has it come up in your research? And do you believe that eminent domain should be abolished from our Constitution?
Well, it's come up quite a bit because I've done research on not only the Southwest project, but other urban renewal projects, and plus these settlements in Redding Hill, Reno City, and so on. But it is it's in the Fifth Amendment. It's allowed by the Fifth Amendment, and it's been upheld by the courts. So I'm not sure how easy, it wouldn't be easy to abolish it, but it seems that it should be people should agree, or policymakers should agree on some framework for it. It shouldn't be used to wipe out communities. We've also used, they've also used highway construction to get rid of communities or cut them in two. There's so many things that have been used. Well, and they used eminent domain for that too. But, and I think, there's been a lot of discussion about, there's been so much unfairness in the past, like how not to continue that. And I don't know how often they actually used eminent domain, I'm pretty sure, for the Nationals baseball stadium in Southeast. What was that, about 10, 20 years ago? And so it happens. And then we have other stadiums, and I think that it's used all over the country, probably for stadiums, and it's used for widening highways. People, it's hard to lose your house, but then everybody's clamoring for more highways or wider highways. It's a really tough question, but certainly hasn't been done fairly in the past. And a lot of discussion needs to happen about how that could be remedied and how it could be made more fair. It's a really difficult question and a really difficult thing.
Yeah.
Because to get pushed out of your home is and back in when they were emptying Reno City, and neighborhood activists found out, because they were holding hearings in a Senate committee about creating this park. They didn't even tell the community, but some of them found out and went and testified that we're not even paid enough money to buy a house somewhere else, like in Deanwood, which is this way far northeast. So that was totally unjust. And in fact, they took it as a joke. Some of the senators laughed when these neighborhood people complained and testified, protested what was happening to them. I thought it was real funny.
In our remaining minutes with you, Mara, what's your pitch to folks who are listening, where there may be stories of land loss, particularly Black families, where there are stories of land loss that may be lost forever if they don't document these stories, if they don't get some of their older family members, direct descendants on the record? What's your pitch for young folks to get engaged and be a part of protecting and preserving these stories?
Well, I always tell people they should interview their elders, grandparents or great-grandparents, whoever they have. Ask for documents, any documents and photos and things that they might have. Get the stories on tape and get the documents. If need be, I always try to get people to donate their documents to a historical society or a library or something, so that they don't get lost, so that, if they don't want to do the research, somebody else can do the research. It makes me ill to think about how much has just been thrown away because people died and their children didn't want to go through the stuff and it just got pitched. Photos, I know people who've pulled stuff out of the trash that some family member had thrown out, or maybe the executors or somebody had thrown in the trash, but it was able to document so much of his family's history with those things that have been thrown out. So those are my two recommendations, I think.
Yeah. Our thanks to historian Mara Cherkasky on all the great work, the body of work that you've done over the years, as we continue our work around addressing issues related to Black land loss by documenting the stories from descendants. We hope to have you back again soon.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. You've been listening to and streaming A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. More when we come forward.
Striving to make America a nation as good as its promise. This is A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
So many things, big and little, make you uniquely you. Your hobbies, dreams, career, family, and more. Addiction to drugs, including opioids and stimulants, can strip these away from you. Recover your life. Choose treatment for drug addiction and get back to what matters most. Find a provider and proven treatment option that's right for you at ChooseChangeCA.org. Recover you.
Imagine a world without heart disease and stroke, where every person has the chance to live a full and healthy life. Join us for a walk to save lives at the American Heart Association's Greater Los Angeles Heart and Stroke Walk, Saturday, September 20th at the Rose Bowl. Every step made and every dollar raised means more people learning CPR, more life-saving research, and more time with the ones we love. Sign up at heartwalkla.org. The LA Heart and Stroke Walk is sponsored by Optum, UCLA Health, Keck Medicine of USC, and Dignity Health. Asthma Peak Week is almost here, September 14th through 20th, and it's one of the most dangerous times of the year for asthma flare-ups. Did you know that Black Americans are about 5 times more likely than white Americans to end up in the emergency room due to asthma? This is an important reminder to be informed, prepared, and proactive. If you or someone you care for has asthma, now's the time to get ready. Make sure medications are filled and not expired. Review your asthma action plan with your doctor or care team. This is also the time to talk with your doctor about your triggers, monitor your symptoms closely, and double-check inhaler technique to ensure you are using all prescribed medications correctly. Caregivers, make sure your child's school or daycare has their rescue medications and know what to do in an emergency. Stay aware, have a plan, and spread the word because your health matters. For more active asthma care tips, visit luma-edu.com. This message is brought to you by Amgen and AstraZeneca.
Hey, KBLA 1580 delegation, your health matters to us. We know that information is power, especially when it comes to prevention and treatment. That's why we're proud to introduce the brand new KBLA Health and Wellness Hub. This online space is built just for you, connecting our community to trusted health resources, culturally relevant care, and even access to diverse clinical trials and emerging therapies. Whether you're looking for information on common conditions, mental health support, or just want to stay on top of your wellness journey, we got you. And the best part, it's all on our website at KBLA1580.com. Accessible, empowering, community-focused. So just go to KBLA1580.com and click on the Health and Wellness Hub icon, because knowledge is power and your health is everything. At KBLA Talk 1580, we've got your black.
We face tragedy,
but we don't fall into despair.
We continue our work to build a more perfect union.
You are listening to and streaming A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. We're here with Terrence Woodbury, co-founder of HIT Strategies, one of America's leading public opinion research firms. Terrence, you know the Georgia terrain very, very well. You are a very proud Morehouse alumni. You've lived in Georgia for a number of years. And we talk a lot about how as goes California, as goes the nation. But in recent years, as goes Georgia, as goes something. And so one of the big headlines that folks aren't talking nearly enough about is, as reported by USA Today, how a Hyundai battery factory raid, what it reveals about a new Trump target, employers who hire illegal workers. For folks who are less familiar, behind the shocking sight of hundreds of South Korean workers being chained and detained at a Georgia battery factory is Trump's latest target, companies that hire illegal workers. While the president has launched sweeping immigration raids on a promise to deliver the largest mass deportation in history, administration officials are also taking a harder line against employers, they say, cheat American workers by hiring undocumented immigrants. E-Verify has been an issue that Democrats and Republicans have sparred over for decades. What makes this incident in Georgia a little bit different than conversations around E-Verify in recent years?
Well, first, let me just put. First of all, I'm in Georgia right now. I believe it is the single most important battleground state in America for the Senate map, for the congressional map, for the presidential map, and it's going to become even more so after 2030 redistricting. 2030 census reapportions at least one or two more congressional seats and one or two more electoral seats here in Georgia. So this is ground zero, not just in 2026, but beyond. And so what does this story mean for the state of Georgia and for the country? I think, it is not lost on me that a part of what is making Georgia emerge as a battleground is the overwhelming power and influence of Black voters in Georgia. That Black voters make up over half of the Democratic electorate here, that they recognize their political power, and they have used that political power to deliver the White House to Joe Biden, to deliver a Black man in Reverend Warnock to the Senate, and a young millennial in John Ossoff, who they must reelect here in 2026. But notably, Black voters also have concerns about illegal immigrants taking jobs that could and should go to their communities. How do I know that? Again, this is not my opinion. It's the opinion of the voters I talk to. And so when I conduct polling and discover that 64% of Black voters believe that advancements in immigrant communities often come at the expense of the Black community, well, that is what I hear when I hear the president say they're taking your Black jobs. He's talking about Hyundai. And he's showing Black voters in Georgia, I'm going to stand up for you. And so Democrats, while we must fight for the humanity and the rights of immigrants, we also must fight to hold companies accountable. I believe that the best way for Democrats to do that is not by punishing the workers that are making below minimum wage, it's by punishing the companies and the corporations that are taking advantage of immigrant labor. And I think the Democrats are going to have to take a very bold stance here to demonstrate to not just Black voters, but to working class voters across the country, that we will stand up to companies that exploit labor and take advantage of immigrants. But notably, Nii-Quartelai, I also think this is an opportunity for us to shift the conversation, because Donald Trump wants us to believe that our problems and our pain is because of someone that makes less than minimum wage at Hyundai. Our problems and our pain is not because of the people that have much less than us. It's because of the people that have way too damn much, that are willing to take from us so that they can have even more. That's what we saw Elon Musk doing when he was doging our federal government. That's what we saw this big, ugly bill do when they cut student lunches, when they cut lunches and Medicaid for poor kids to give billionaires tax cuts. And so Democrats have to address this issue, but also use it to pivot the conversation to the real problem. And it's not the people that are making under minimum wage.
Are Democrats losing their grip on the working class, losing their grip on union workers? Look, since January, the Trump administration, they've targeted workers at raids, California car washes, marijuana farms, Louisiana racetracks, a Florida construction site, and a Nebraska meatpacking plant, all while those enforcement actions, they haven't translated into criminal cases or fines against employers. But the raids themselves, in some cases, they significantly disrupted that business operation. And so we're seeing the political theater that makes it appear as if, Trump is holding everybody accountable, both workers and employers. We know that that's not true, but clearly Democrats don't have a message, let alone any compelling message that connects those dots to voters. It's so frustrating.
Yeah, I mean, this is, again, I believe that many in the Democratic Party are looking forward to engaging this debate in the upcoming 2026 campaign. Based on the voters I'm talking to in focus groups in 2025, prior to the 2026 election, they expect to see Democrats engage in this debate now. And not just to oppose or fight back or resist, but to offer an alternative. How is the world better if you are in charge? How is my state better if a Democrat replaces Brian Kemp? How is the country better if we keep Raphael Warnock and we keep John Ossoff in the U.S. Senate and deliver majority? Those are questions that we still have to answer to the American people, not just the Democrats. We have to answer the American people how your life is better when Democrats are in charge. And that requires more than just resisting.
Speaking of resisting, Terrence, you might have read Ezra Klein's op-ed this weekend in the New York Times. It's gone viral. There are a lot of folks that are talking about this op-ed where Ezra Klein makes a case that so many of us, have talked about behind the scenes, which is Democrats' leverage points in a Congress that they don't control. Well, at the end of this month, they have an opportunity to really leverage one of those points. I'm talking about shutting the government down. The Democrats don't have a lot of options, but the end of this month, the continuing resolution to fund government, it ends. And there are a lot of folks calling on Democrats to do the hard thing and shut the government down. What are you seeing in your public opinion research that suggests that Democrats on Capitol Hill should or should not shut the government down?
Yeah, Dr. Nee, this is a mixed bag, right? Because there are some Democrats who say fight like hell with every tool in your toolbox. Fight like hell, shut it down, filibuster, whatever it go to jail, protest, resist, whatever it takes to disrupt what they consider attacks against American freedoms. But there are other Democrats who do want to protect the institutions that they believe make up the American body politic. Institutions like the Congress and the Senate. And I think that it is incumbent upon Democrats, similar to what we see Gavin Newsom doing in California, to fight by the rules that are being set by Republicans, but also to point towards a world where these rules are changed under Democratic leadership. So the same thing I'm telling Democratic leaders about redistricting, we have to explain why we must engage in this highly undemocratic practice to fight for our democracy. But we also have to explain that under Democratic control, there'll be a national redistricting commission so that states can't pick their voters anymore. There will be, get big money out of politics and the type of government reforms that demonstrate to the American people that while we must win on this terrain, there's a better terrain if we can forge ahead.
Would shutting the government down help Democrats to get the public's attention? Should Democrats on Capitol Hill shut the government down, stop funding Trump's government?
Yeah, I mean, I don't, I'm very careful in these positions, Doctor, not to give my opinion, but to give the opinion of the voters I talk to. And I haven't asked that question explicitly yet, but I can deduce from what they've been telling me that while they do want to see Democrats using all the tools in their toolbox, they're going to need an explanation. Why? Because this is going to cause pain. And it ain't just going to cause pain for Republicans. And it ain't just going to cause pain for Washington. And so if Democrats pull this nuclear option, they are going to have to explain to the American people, we are using this lever in order to achieve this outcome. And when we are in charge, here's how it will be better. That last part is so critical. When we are in charge, here's how the world will be different.
Well, Terrence, in our remaining minutes, again, the Georgia terrain very well. We know national terrain very well. And certain international terrains very well. But I want to go back to where so much of your genius sort of took flight, and that was at the distinguished HBCU Morehouse College. As The Guardian is reporting, in the Trump era, Black students are flocking to HBCUs where their history isn't being erased. That's what the Spelman College president, at least, is saying in a new book that she's published. Talk to us about whether or not you think that is going to hold true. Look, this president, this administration, they haven't been shy about going after any college or any university I certainly talked to HBCU leaders who behind the scenes are sort of bracing for impact. Talk to us about, what's at stake, if we the people, don't stand up and protect Black institutions, including but not limited to HBCUs.
Yeah, first I just want to commend a mentor and a role model of mine, President Roz Brewer at Spelman, for the voice and the leadership that she's demonstrated at Spelman and in our community more broadly. And I, as a product of an HBCU, as parents who are products of HBCUs, a part of what we see here is the integrity of institutions that are not kowtowing to the federal government, that are not compromising our principles, our values to appease a tyrant in chief. Look, frankly, many HBCUs, especially Morehouse and Spelman, are private institutions that don't get the luxury of a whole lot of federal funding. We have to endow ourselves. We have to raise this money, and we have to unfortunately charge pretty high tuitions, which I'm still paying back 20 years later. I think that we have seen not only HBCUs, but HBCU alumni like Jamal Bryant, like Pastor Jamal Bryant here in Atlanta, like Pastor Otis Moss of Trinity Baptist Church in Chicago, that are using their platforms to organize, to fundraise, to protect our institutions like the African American Smithsonian, like HBCUs, but also to send a signal and a message to institutions that do not protect us, like Target, that our buying power, that our political power, and that our collective power will not be ignored. And this pendulum will swing back. Black voters will still be the biggest consumers in America, and we will remember our friends, and we will remember those that did not stand with us.
All right, mic drop. Mic drop. Our thanks to Terrence Woodbury. He is the co-founder of HIT Strategies. He is one of the foremost public opinion researchers in the United States today, a proud Morehouse man. And just as he's a product of HBCU, so am I. I didn't go to an HBCU, but my mom and dad met at an HBCU, right? And so I just want to connect the dots and help people understand, how much talent that is connected to community that HBCUs produce, whether you attended one or your parents or your grandparents attended one. HBCUs are worth protecting. My thanks to Terrence Woodbury. You've been listening to and streaming A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Amber Payton with BIN News Now. Black Maryland Governor Wes Moore is condemning the Wednesday shooting death of conservative activist Charlie Kirk at Utah Valley University, calling it heinous political violence. Moore urged peaceful resolution of political differences and offered prayers to Kirk's family, stressing the need for unity and peace. Sue Carnell will become Michigan's first Black woman interim state superintendent on October 3rd. She steps in as the state works to finalize a contract